Good evening and welcome to our Facilities and Boundaries Decisions meeting. We will review and act on the superintendent's recommended FY 2024 capital budget and amendments to the FY 23 through 28 capital improvements program, along with Clarksburg Elementary School number 9 boundary recommendations. I will call the roll now to recognize board members and to establish we have a quorum, starting with Mr. Kim.
Good evening, everyone.
Ms. Harris.
Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone.
Ms. Mandrowski.
Hi, good evening.
Ms. Silvestri.
Good evening.
Dr. Daka.
Good evening.
Ms. Evans.
Good evening.
And Dr. Joftis.
Good evening.
So we can begin now with the approval of the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Before we begin, I'd like to provide some guidance to the board members about how we will proceed. I suggest that after staff presents each recommendation, we should pause so that board members have the opportunity to pose questions or comments associated with each item. The board will take a vote only on motions that are seconded. 5 affirmative votes are needed to adopt any motion. Dr. McKnight, do you have any opening comments?
Yes, I do, and thank you, Ms. Wolf. So tonight, fiscal year 2024 is the second year of the biennial capital improvements program, better known as the CIP review process. Therefore, any projects with expenditure or appropriation changes needed in the second year of the adopted 6-year CIP are considered for amendments to the CIP. The County Council adopted FY 23 to 28 CIP for MCPS totaling $1.771 billion for the 6-year period, an increase of $4 million more than the board's request. While the County Council did approve an increase, the year-by-year expenditures significantly were reduced in the first 3 years, which we've talked about several times, with additional expenditures approved in the last 3 years of the CIP. So as a result, the adopted CIP included completion delays for 8 capital projects and expenditure reductions for various countywide systemic projects. Unfortunately, the impacts of COVID-19 health pandemic, unprecedented rise in material costs, disruptions in the supply chain, and staffing shortages did impact our CIP overall. So as a result, in order to maintain the completion dates of previously approved projects and addressing our aging infrastructure, it is necessary to increase the adopted budgets for several of our individual capital projects and system-wide projects. So we have 2 resolutions this evening that I've shared and an outline of my recommendations for the 24 capital budget and amendments to the FY 23 to 28 capital improvements program, as well as for the Clarksburg Elementary School number 9 boundaries. So staff from the Department of Facilities and Management are here, Seth Adams, Adrian Carmijas, and we are looking forward to taking any questions or addressing anything before reading the resolution.
Thank you. Would you like to begin?
So I do believe we are prepared to read the resolution, but as Dr. McKnight said, we certainly are here to answer any questions. So I do believe we are scheduled to start with the superintendent's recommendation for Clarksburg Elementary School number 9 boundaries. We did certainly have the opportunity to hear from community members during our public hearing process, and from several of the presenters. They were supportive of, obviously, what the superintendent was recommending. So certainly we're here to answer any questions, but also prepared to read the resolution for consideration of the Board of Education.
Okay, you wanna read the resolution?
Okay. I'm going to start with the whereases. Whereas on November 18th, 2021, the Board of Education authorized a boundary study to create the service area for Clarksburg Elementary School number 9. And whereas Clarksburg, William B. Gibbs Jr., Little Bennett, and Wilson Wims Elementary Schools were included in the scope of the boundary study, and whereas no middle or high schools were included in the scope of the boundary study, and whereas the boundary study process occurred from March to May 2022 to review 6 staff-developed reassignment options for the Clarksburg Elementary School number 9 boundary study, And whereas in June 2022, a report was submitted to the Board of Education that summarized the boundary study process and the 6 staff-developed reassignment options for the Clarksburg Elementary School Number 9 boundary study. And whereas as part of the superintendent's review of the 6 staff-developed options for the Clarksburg Elementary School Number 9 boundary study, the superintendent of schools requested that staff develop a slightly modified version of option 1. And whereas on October 31, 2022, there was a presentation to the Board of Education on the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program, including the Clarksburg Elementary School Number 9 boundary study. And whereas on November 1 and 10, 2022, the Board of Education held work sessions on the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program, including the Clarksburg Elementary School Number 9 boundary study. And whereas on November 3, 9, and 14, 2022, the Board of Education conducted public hearings in accordance with the Board of Education Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning, and Montgomery County Public Schools Regulation FAA-RA, Educational Facilities Planning on the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program and related boundaries study. Now therefore be it resolved that the following reassignments be made as indicated on the attached map. Zones C7, C8, and C9 from Clarksburg Elementary School to Clarksburg Elementary School Number 9. And Zone C10 from Clarksburg Elementary School to William B. Gibbs Jr. Elementary School. And be it further resolved that the boundary reassignment be phased beginning with kindergarten through grades 4 students in the 2023-2024 school year and kindergarten through grade 5 students in the 24 to 25 school year.
Gonna move that? No, not yet. I have to move it first.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Harris?
Is it possible to put the map up one more time so people, just the vast viewing audience can?
Do we have that with us tonight?
No?
We don't.
Okay.
Are we getting copies of, or not?
We're getting, yes, we're getting copies. We need copies of the map. Do you want copies of the map?
I
Ms.
just thought it would be
Harris wanted
interesting
to
for
see it
people
on
to
the
see
screen.
it.
It's attached.
To the rest.
But we don't have the resolution.
Yeah, I have it here.
No, and I left
I
my
have
book
the
in the other room.
resolution
I mean, if you don't have the copies,
I mean,
Here,
we're getting
here.
the copies. Do you want the map too?
here's the map.
I can let you see my copy.
Do I hold it up for the viewers?
There you
Well,
go.
is there any way to show a PowerPoint?
Oh.
I'm just visual.
That's all right.
Lynn, turn it around again. TV's gonna shoot it and try to,
Is that good?
can you,
Do we need to take it back there to them?
oh,
Here is
but you can't project it in the room.
No, thank you.
He's projecting that on TV. We can't see it, but the viewing audience can now see the map.
I can put it down now? Okay.
You can keep that one.
You can keep that. That's my copy. You
You
can
can
keep
ask
it.
questions.
Do you have questions about
No,
it?
I just
Harris?
was
Okay,
letting everybody see visually what we were
okay,
talking about.
no problem. Ms. Mandrowski?
Yep, thank you. So I again want to thank everybody for their work on this. Boundaries issues are never easy and never cut and dry. I am going to support the superintendent's recommendation, but I just wanted to mention that, I know that we hadn't heard from, a whole lot of people, or what we would consider a lot of people throughout this process, but I have heard from some folks since, and I just wanted to quickly raise a couple of the issues that have been brought to my attention in reference to some of our families who are living in more remote areas, more rural areas. Some of the people on the outskirts of the Boyd's rural Boyd's area have mentioned, and Montgomery County, when we talk about diversity, it's diverse in so many different ways, including what pockets of all around the county look like in terms of space and density and all of that other stuff. But, it seems though a majority of the concerns that we hear around challenges are usually related to transportation and access to our schools and other county amenities. So I would like to ask, if possible, for staff to work with families that may have issues with some of this, particularly when it comes to transportation and stuff, to better understand the challenges and work on solutions that might be possible to help alleviate some of the impacts that some of our families may be concerned with, if that's possible.
Mr. Adams, I know, go ahead. I was going to say yes. We can definitely do that, and we will do that. I know Mr. Adams spends a lot of time with a lot of our communities to understand any anticipated challenges they believe could be caused, or to clarify anything that they may not understand in the process that they could be worried about this impacting them, but that we want to work through. So we can absolutely do that. Any other comments about that?
No, and I would just say, yes, absolutely, we will. And what we have heard over the years is the county does have robust public transportation systems, but there are still pockets of the county that have limitations of access to amenities. We've heard from our Poolsville community. I know we've heard from the Laytonsville community. So certainly this is an area that we will spend time on in terms of, partnerships with the county, whether it be different types of facilities, amenities, but also transportation and how that segues within the school system as well. So absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I know sometimes they're looking for something that maybe is like a reverse commute or type of thing. So if we can work with them on flexibility of that kind of issues, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Please continue, Mr. Adams.
Bless you. So now we'll move on to the superintendent's recommended FY24 capital budget and amendments to the FY23 through 28 capital improvements program. One thing that obviously we did have robust conversation during public hearings. I do believe that there was a theme of elements around students, asking for different amenities, improvements at our facilities that are also included in the superintendent's request. So that was certainly a good thing to hear in terms of where we are headed, and from Dr. McKnight's perspective, the elements that she is forecasting and trying to provide for students. So based on that testimony, we do feel very confident that the superintendent's recommendation does meet the needs and some of the demands that we heard during testimony. So at this point, we're ready to read the resolution and certainly answer any questions.
Okay, go ahead, Adrian.
So I will begin the second resolution. Whereas in accordance with Section 5-306 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, the Superintendent of Schools released the Superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program on October 28, 2022. And whereas in accordance with Montgomery County Charter and the biennial capital improvements process, in even-numbered fiscal years such as fiscal year 2024, only projects with expenditure appropriation changes needed in the second year of the adopted six-year capital improvements program are considered for amendments. And whereas the effects of the COVID-19 health pandemic, unprecedented rise in material prices, disruptions in the supply chain, and staffing shortages continue to impact our capital improvements program. And whereas in order to maintain the completion dates of previously approved projects and address our aging infrastructure, it was necessary to increase the adopted budgets for several individual capital projects and countywide systemic projects. And whereas, as a result, the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program totaled $1.921 billion, an increase of $151.3 million more than the adopted capital improvements program. And whereas The amendments recommended by the superintendent of schools are as follows: $91 million to address construction cost increases and maintain the completion dates for the following projects: Greencastle Elementary School addition, Joanne Leelick Elementary School at Broad Acres, Silver Spring International Middle School addition, Crown High School, new, Northwood High School addition facility upgrade, Poolsville High School major capital project, Charles W. Woodward High School new. $29.87 million to maintain the completion date for the capital project at Burtonsville Elementary School. However, instead of building an addition at the current site, construct a new Burtonsville Elementary School at another location. $10 million to provide funding for the building modifications and program improvements project to implement the new blueprint for Maryland's future through modifications to existing facilities in order to provide classroom space for our youngest learners, to modify existing facilities to provide inclusive restrooms for our students, and to modify existing facilities due to special education program changes and relocations. $10 million to address the backlog of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning projects that have been further impacted due to the rise in construction costs. $2.5 million to begin the design for the relocation of the Montgomery County Public Schools Materials Management Building. $2.5 million to provide funding for the relocatable classroom project as a result of increases in construction costs, as well as to implement the new blueprint for Maryland's future for schools that are currently overutilized. $2.5 million to provide funding for the school security project to update electronic access to our buildings and install new and/or update security technology at schools throughout the county. And $2.92 million to provide funding for the stormwater discharge and water quality management project to upgrade, replace water fixtures throughout the school system to comply with the Safe School Drinking Water Act legislation. And whereas there are many individual capital projects and countywide systemic projects already programmed in the adopted capital improvements program, funding for the planning, design, and/or construction of 10 elementary school capacity projects, 3 middle school capacity projects, 4 high school capacity projects, and 11 major capital projects, 5 at the elementary school level, 2 at the middle school level, and 4 at the high school level, and many countywide systemic projects that address system-wide needs for our aging facilities. And whereas the funds in the adopted capital improvements program must remain on their approved expenditure schedules to ensure that these vital projects move forward to address our overutilization and infrastructure and aging infrastructure. And whereas the Board of Education received a presentation on the Superintendent of Schools' recommendations for all capital and non-capital items for the fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program on October 31st, 2022, conducted 2 work sessions on November 1 and 10, 2022, and held 3 public hearings on November 3, 9, and 14, 2022. And whereas a technical adjustment to the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program is needed to incorporate the following supplemental appropriations that previously were approved by the County Council: $12 million for Neelsville Middle School major capital project, $603,000 for the planned life cycle asset replacement project, $2.078 million for the technology modernization project, and $750,000 also for the technology modernization project. And whereas a technical adjustment to the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program is needed to reflect an adjustment to the fiscal year 2024, that should be 2024. We may have to amend that. The 2024 appropriation for the Greencastle, it's read as, I'll read it as fiscal year 2023 appropriation for the Greencastle Elementary School addition project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education approve a fiscal year 2024 capital budget appropriation request totaling $740,050,000 and an amendment fiscal year 2023-2028 capital improvements program request totaling $1.936 billion as indicated on attachment A, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education approve the revised fiscal year 2024 state capital improvements program request in the amount of $164,590,000 as indicated in Attachment B, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education approve the individual capital and non-capital items included in the superintendent's recommended 2024 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal years 2023 to 2028 capital improvements program, and be it further resolved that due to unforeseen site conditions for the Woodland Elementary School major capital project, the Board of Education approve a 6-month delay for this capital project, and that the students and staff remain at the Grosvenor facility until winter break 2023, and be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be transmitted to the county executive and the county council.
Move approval.
I have a question, though. Do we need to amend the date in this first before we?
So the correction is in the whereas, not in the resolve, so I think we can just note for the record that
Okay.
it should have been 24, not 23.
But it'll be corrected before it's transmitted to the county council, to the county executive, right? Thank you. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Mandrowski?
So I happen to have been talking to some people that I met, and we were talking about the capital improvements, and they did not realize that there's the time to come and do the public hearings to talk about concerns. How would a school who needs, like, say, a new fence because they have a special education program and sometimes have to work, can be concerned about kids running off or things like that, go to get included in something that looks I think it's bigger than a work order, is why I'm asking. So, but if we don't have it specifically labeled in the budget, is it something that can happen or no?
No, and absolutely, that is something we've created, what we call facility project requests, that we work with our schools and our principals. Principals routinely do fill out those types of requests, particularly if it's an improvement to an existing program or a new program that's coming to a school. But that is certainly something that we routinely review and ultimately implement throughout the school year, throughout that, or utilizing that facility project request form. It is a document that's on MCPS form, so certainly if you have any information, please forward it on, and we'll reach out to the school and work with them. But that is also, just remind everyone the importance of projects like the BIMPI, which is Building Modification Program Improvement. That is the program that funds those types of improvements, which are really critical to our schools.
Okay, thank you. I'll let you know which school I was referring to.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you for your hard work on this, and thank you for reading it. Because it was impressive, and it really was. This is a labor of love. Thank you very much. This concludes our Facilities and Boundaries Decision meeting, so thank you. Oh, what?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, yes, that's right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Is this yours, Dr. Maynard?